Alrighty. Good evening. Since I only have 15 minutes left, I'll make this very short. I know, I'm just teasing. I really appreciate the opportunity. I just quickly want to introduce the staff that is here with me. To my right is Brad Fries, which is our Deputy Director. To the left is Kristen Curro. She is our Assistant Director over Finance and Administration. And sitting over the table there is Courtney Stone, who is our Director over Strategic Communication. We have Charles Bodie, who is our Director over Human Resources in NDOT. And then I always mess up his name, both dropped, right? Close enough. Who is Assistant Director over our engineering side of the field. And unfortunately, Phillips Jones is not with us today. He's actually down in Gatlinburg attending the TCO HOA, which is the Highway Office Supervisors annual meeting. So, but thank you, and we'll be quick, and then we'll look forward to your questions. Go ahead. So one of the things that we have, wait a minute, we're trying to get moved. There we go. NDOT on the move is what we're calling it. So one of the things that I shared at the last meeting, budget hearing meeting, was that we are looking to actually revisit with what our vision and our mission and our values are. And so what you see up there is we've spent the year actually looking at what is truly our vision. And this is where we have landed after a year of working as a team, is that we exist to create a safe, sustainable, and balanced transportation system that supports choices and offers opportunities for a vibrant neighborhood for present and future generations. And then we also have updated our mission to go with that, and we've identified the values that we needed to use in order to provide that vision to our community. So I had also discussed last year about putting together and identifying what we're calling a 5-year strategic plan that's really focusing in on our core services. So we took the 5-year strategic plan, and we actually have backdated that. We started using FYI 22-23 as our baseline. FYI 21-22 as our baseline, and then have moved forward. But we did come up with 3 set goals that we needed to focus in that really actually spoke to our core services. So goal number 1, we identified as safe neighborhoods, and so one of our objectives under that was to deploy the Vision Zero action plan, and as well as the implementation plan. We want to build that balanced, sustainable transportation system. So that's really looking at how do we get this done over the next 25 years, and then deploying a space curb management program, and that has been part of our Connect Downtown initiative that's been ongoing. Then goal number 2 was to be really customer focused. We want to make sure we're delivering really great service to our neighbors and to our businesses as well. So underneath that goal, we've identified communicating NDOT's programs and responsibilities to Metro Davidson County residents and businesses, so that everybody's really aware of what we do and when they can expect the service to happen. Increase our responsiveness for NDOT services. We want to also increase the quality of the service that we're providing to our community, and also employing the reliability of Nashville and Davidson County's transportation network. So that plays into the potholes and making sure the litter's picked up and all of that. And then our last goal was actually what we are calling people and culture. So that's our folks. And that's about really increasing employee engagement. So really keeping our folks really engaged and understanding they're such an essential part of what we deliver to our community. So really becoming that employee of choice is what we want to become for our employees. So we feel like if we keep them engaged, hold those meetings, recognize the great work they're doing, that would be part of it. So so that's one of our objectives. Improving the applicant experience. So really digging into where we're attracting the best folks to Nashville, Davidson County, to help us reach these overarching goals that we have as a whole, and our vision and mission. And then also increasing our employee retention. There are some positions within our department that, I hate to say it, but they're a little bit of a revolving door. So by becoming that employer of choice, becoming where we're focusing in on our people and the culture that we're building at NDOT, we feel like we're going to like create a real strong family foundation that everyone sees their pathway forward and the vision that we're actually working toward. So this is our goals that we've established in our 5-year strategic plan. We will actually be passing out the 5-year strategic plan to all of y'all in the next 2 weeks and sharing it with you. It'll break down in the strategic plan. And I'm going to move to the next slide because in the strategic plan, we set up KPIs. And this is kind of an example. So key performance indicators for every goal. And there's multiple of them. So we'll share that out in the strategic plan. But for example, safe neighborhoods, objective, build a balanced and sustainable transportation system over the next 25 years. Here's one of the key KPIs, increase the number of linear feet of sidewalks by 5% annually. So this is our goal of what we're set out to do. And as you can see, that means we're trying to hit to where we're actually building over 20,388 linear feet of sidewalk on an annual basis. So in 2022, we hit it. And that was because there was a lot of backlog, and we also did the 50% quicker, 20% cheaper. And we're able to get a lot of that done. And 2023, we really got back into making sure that we're building sidewalks that start connecting. And so we didn't quite hit the mark, but we're pressing forward. And we feel like in 2024, we will be successful with hitting that KPI. But that's the goals that we're establishing. So when we actually share this out with you, and what we're going to take now is actually create a dashboard. So we will have on our website, people will be able to go in and see all the KPIs from our 5-year strategic plans and be able to identify exactly where we are and how we're performing to these key performance indicators. So year 1 was establishing a department. Year 2 was all about delivery. Year 3 is about delivery. For the rest of our job, every single day, we are about delivering. But I also want to make next year about celebrating. I really want to, we didn't stop enough to have those ribbon cutting ceremonies to celebrate some of these great things that the team had done. So we are going to do that this year. I want to give an opportunity to recognize the folks that have been worked so hard and were so dedicated, making sure they delivered a project. So we're going to focus a little bit on that celebration over the next year and communication. So part of the strategic plan, that people and culture and also providing that great service is really key to communication. So not just communication with our department, but communication with our community and our businesses about what we're doing, how we're doing it, where they can do it, and how they can expect it. So really looking forward to providing that in year 4 and making that a focus for us. But we're still going to deliver. That's still our #1 initiative. So I wanted to kind of give an update because Vision Zero, if you remember when I first presentation, we had the umbrella with the raindrops that represented all the different core services. Vision Zero is still a really strong initiative that we have going on. So as you can see, this is some of the projects that we have been working on over the course under the Vision Zero umbrella. But I want to dig into actually 2 of them. So the next one we're going to dig into is what we're calling the LiDAR installation. And I'm actually going to turn that over to Brad, and he's going to kind of expand on that. Excuse me.
Yes, so we were awarded last year, actually last April, we were awarded a grant from the USDOT, the SMART program. It was one of the first grants that were awarded as part of this program. So we are leveraging LiDAR technology at intersections to obtain near-miss data that we would not know about with just looking at flat crash reports, right? So as engineers and researchers, you know, when we look at the data, we see what happens, and we see, you know, the negative result. But we don't always see that. We don't see the near misses. We don't get an opportunity to be as proactive as we could if we had this type of information. So we're using this in the field now. So we had a visit from the USDOT last month where they came and actually saw what we were doing in action. You can see here, this was on Clarksville Pike in North Nashville, right at the corner of there near the Future Transit Center, the Ernest Rep Patton Transit Center. So we actually were able to demonstrate the LiDAR at that location. You can see in this picture on the bottom, someone standing there with a vest on. That's actually some student from Vanderbilt actually piloting our more responsive pedestrian phasing system where when that person actually walks off the sidewalk, it automatically clicks on warnings and advisories. So it's very, very precise as far as detecting that information. This has also been a great outreach opportunity with the community of North Nashville. We've had several great events. We're working with TSU. You can see some of their students in this picture here where they've actually had some good opportunity to get some more research papers in and published, but also had some great community engagement and activities that we've done as part of this. So it's a $2 million grant. However, we are eligible for a part 2 of the grant that's up to $20 million. So we have found out from the USDOT and talking to other recipients of this grant that we are very far advanced compared to the other cities who were awarded this grant in terms of how we've been able to secure our contracts, work through procurement, get this project started. We are very far ahead most of the other applicants. So we are in a very good spot. That's one of the reasons why USDOT visited us. You can see Stan Caldwell is the director of the USDOT SMART program. He came down and visited, and he was very, very impressed with what we were able to accomplish. So very excited about this project.
Thank you, Brad. Just real quick, one thing on this. What's exciting about this is it gives us predictions. So in that talk and staying with that proactive and delivery, we can see what people are actually doing in these near misses that are going to help us better in our design. So this is really exciting. The 20 million grant, which is the phase 2 we will be going after, is going to allow us to expand to different areas. So we're super excited, and we're going to be actually putting that application together, and we will be submitting it. So I hope to have another great success story to bring to y'all about this. But this allows us, again, to be very proactive in our approach to how we're designing our streets and our network. So we're creating it safely for all modes and not just for vehicular mode. All right, so the next page is I just want to quickly go over some of the outcome once we went, y'all actually passed the resolution on Vision Zero. So y'all actually adopted the resolution in October of 2021 to 22. Fiscal year, so we actually wanted to do a year-to-year comparison, and that's what you're looking at here. So as you can see, we've actually have made some progress, and a lot of this has been due to the quick builds that we've been able to get out on the streets, the improvements we've been able to do in partnership with both water, with WeGo, with our other agency partners, and also with TDOT. I don't want to leave them off the road because they've allowed us to actually do a lot of things along their pikes that are, I want to say, really outside the box. So it gives us a lot of excitement about that continual partnership. But we have been successful in reducing the overall severity of crashes. We've reduced total fatal crashes from year over year. Also, serious injuries is where we've seen some really great success. We've also did see a drop in pedestrian, but unfortunately we had a bicycle crash that actually gave us that improvement. So that was something we're not happy, but we actually are very focused on how we can make those improvements. And some of this is also built around behavior or how people are driving. We also have had improvements on single vehicular crash and total intersection related. We were finding that a lot of crashes were happening at the intersection where maybe people were running reds or not yielding correctly, so we're seeing improvements. So some of the outreach that we've been doing, some of the communication we've been doing, just some of the overall designs where we've pulled out the curb and made it where people couldn't just whip around a corner, they had to kind of pull and slow and then move. We're seeing some successes, so we're just going to continue to really beat on this drum and move it forward. So, and then crashes where the speed limit is less than 35 miles per hour, we've actually seen it. So when we came to y'all and said, hey, we want to reduce the speed limit, and y'all said, yes, go do it, it's had a very positive effect. So we're going to continue on this march and just continue to move it forward. All right, so now I want to get into the budget. Well, we're staying flat. The only thing we have received in this next budget cycle is an additional enforcement person, and that's coming out of our parking fund. Just a little bit of information. One of the things that we've really focused on the enforcement side is we started with just parking enforcement, but now we've taken all the enforcement. We've taken on the responsibility over the course of the past 15 months of where we are now doing enforcement in the right-of-way. The ordinance was changed that allowed us to do that. So we are actually working very closely with the police where we are handling the abandoned vehicles, and that saves the police where they can actually go and handle a situation or a crime where it needs more immediate attention than dealing with an abandoned vehicle sitting in the right-of-way. We have also taken on the responsibility of handling loud music that's within the right-of-way as well. That was another ordinance update that was passed by this council a few months back, so we've been handling that. And then also we do the enforcement for the entertainment, transportation entertainment vehicles, as well as also for the sidewalk vending, and also, I'm forgetting something, help me out here. I can't remember, parking. Of course, parking. But what we did is we took all our enforcement and we put them together and we trained them. So every one of them are cross-trained to do any one of those enforcements. So taking that, dividing out by zones, we're able to hit all of those spots, really focus in on that stuff so that code's focusing more on their things, the police are focusing more on those things. And then when we need assistance, we bring those partners back to the table and have those conversations. But that's really been a great success for us. So we've been enforcing that. That'll also be really helpful for us as we move forward and we start managing the curve from Connect Downtown. That's going to be really important. One of our biggest challenges that we learned from Connect Downtown is the loading and unloading and just how valuable the curve is of what people are using it. So enforcement's not going to be just handling the parking. They're going to be handling the unloading zones. They're going to be handling the ride-sharing zones that we're going to be creating. We've just updated regulations on the scooters and the bicycles that they have to put them back in a corral. They can't just dump them. So all of this stuff is going to be some major improvements. It's just going to make the experience in downtown better and also safer. And those are a lot of the initiatives we have going. So as far as our budget, we did make a lot of asks, but we are staying flat. And it was very nice. We actually have been doing individual tours with council members. Matt has reached out, I think, to all of y'all, and we've set a lot of these up. If we haven't had a chance to set up a tour in your district, please ask, because we're getting so much out of it. And I really think that the council members we've done this with have gotten a lot out of it as well, of being able to just have that personal on-site visit within the district. I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with it? Help me out here, team. I know what it was. It was very nice. We actually were touring earlier and we had said, litter's getting better. So what we have actually done is with some of our payroll savings is we've actually taken and started running weekend crews. And that's why we've been able to really stay on top of the litter and even in some places get ahead of it. We've identified 7 gateways that are with gateways into our county, not just our city, but into our county, where we're hitting that every single week, no matter what. And that includes a couple of those gateways are on a TDOT roadway network, not on ours, but we're hitting it because this is the impression the community's getting of us. So those are some of the successes that we're excited, but that's what we've been doing. We've been really staying on top of the additional alley dumping pickup and staying on top of that so the alleys aren't being blighted. We're staying on top of the litter. We're also having, and we're very appreciative of all our beautification commissioners because they have really been coming out of and helping us with this and setting up volunteer meetings, and we're just looking forward to continuing to do a lot of those. That is one of our KPIs, is a way to encourage that as well, so it's very community driven. We're super excited about all of that, but we're staying flat from this year to last year, other than the one additional parking enforcement person, which we really do need. I will tell you the right-of-way abandonment vehicles, when we were discussing about taking it over, we were told it was like 200 cars a year to maybe 300, and we're seeing that actually every week practically in the county. So that has really become quite a demand. So that extra person's really going to help us so we're not taking away from another area that we need to continue to be enforcing and working with the community on. So the next slide is just really kind of wanted to give you some numbers of where we are year to date. So potholes, we're at 26,000. At traffic calming programs, we've got 58 installed this year to date, which is really good. Our parking revenue dollars is at 3.19 million, and usually in the past we've been at just below $1 million. So the smart parking program is actually working. Litter, we've already picked up over 279 tons. We've hired 184 employees this year. I know I was listening to Steve when someone had asked, what were you having challenges with still getting buses? Because coming out of that COVID and everything, we were having similar challenges, but I will tell you, it's really, we're seeing some success now, so it's super exciting. Linear feet of bikeways built is 48,217, so we're still, we're pushing. And then here our linear feet year to date on sidewalks is 18,462. So we have that KPI of over 20,000 and we're going to hit it. So we're super excited because we do have, this month and couple months, because this is actually taking us through the month of April. So I still got May, June, and May and June to come back and add. Right-of-way permits, we've been roughly around 13. This is actually right on course. We're going to be ahead of last year. I know everybody's thinking with the economy and everything, there should have been a drop. We have not seen a drop in right-of-way permits whatsoever. So we'll actually exceed last year's number this year. And then linear feet of guardrails that we've replaced, recognizing that there is warrants that are done for that replacement, but just making sure we're staying on top of the safety, and that's really part of also our Vision Zero effort. So y'all were wonderful to us last year and gave us surplus dollars. So I kind of wanted to give an update of where we were with that. I think that's really important. We didn't get the dollars until February, but I still felt like we've had some time to move things forward, so I want to share it. Below, you will see at the bottom in that little pink shaded area are the sidewalk programs that y'all approved of, which was 7.5 million. And then over to the far right, we kind of had laid out where we are in the process with each one of those. So some of them we actually had done, but we ran out of money and we couldn't construct. So now we're doing construction with them, which is really great. Others we were able to take to design, and now we're moving into engineering. So we're really moving that forward very aggressively. Oh, yeah, Brad's giving me number 6 in construction. 12 million in Vision Zero on the high entry network, and this has also been really great. We continue to push those forward on our quick builds, as well as our long-term design elements that we're doing to make improvements. And then, of course, the 4 million for traffic calming is pushed on the 60. So that gave us the ability to do 60 additional over the 50 that we do. And we're pushing very aggressively on those as well. So we're moving everything forward. And I think that's why you're seeing a higher number of installations that are being done as well. We were having a little bit of challenge on the traffic calming with our contractor, not being able to deliver because they handle multiple agencies other than just us. But we were able to work out with a few of our contractors that we had through our paving program and bring them over to where they could step in and help us, so that we had more than just one company actually handling traffic calming. And that's been very successful, and we're going to continue to run it that way so we continue to have that success. The other thing that came out of the Vision Zero that it's one of my pet projects, I want to say, but I think it's extremely important, is we have a lot of schools that are actually on our high injury network. And so we've put together, and this is what you're seeing here, is a design of what it will look like for the school zones. And the point is to get out there and do this for every school. So it's uniform. People know how to behave. There's a lot of times you're in a school zone and you do not even realize it in this city and in the county. And this is going to allow us. So we've been able to pull money out of this. This is actually going to be starting in the next month. Because we're going to do it over the summer and put it back in. We're able to get 15 schools done. They are identified based on the high injury network. Data was what drove this. We looked at where the crashes were occurring, where we didn't have enough of the safety elements in place. That's where the school zones went. So it really is tied with the data and with the high injury networks. So that's what drove this. Our goal, though, is to be doing more and more of this and get every school zone done. The other great thing I will share with you is now we work very closely with the school system, with Metro Nashville public schools. And so as a new school comes online, this is going to be built into it. So moving forward, we're going to actually have stuff done as we're having conversations. A lot of times schools have happened and we don't even have conversations about how to move some of the traffic. And now we're having those conversations and we have those relationships. So we're really going to, I think, be having some better advancements and safety mechanisms for our children as we move forward. So the last slide is looking to the future. We are launching the first traffic management center. Yay! We're going to be setting up an open house. We'll be sending an invitation out. We would love to have you all come. We're going to have light refreshments too, so you can come and get a snack. Maybe I'll do it on council day before a meeting, so y'all can all come and get something to eat and then go to council meeting. That'll probably be my bribe. I think it's a good idea. But we're super excited about it. And this really ties into Choose How You Move in the referendum. You know, if we're successful, when we're successful with Choose How You Move, that upgrade to approximately 600 traffic signals is going to make a big difference in how we move. And the traffic management center is really what's allowing us to really think about it in a much bigger way than what Nashville has ever thought about, or Davidson County has thought about it, how we can use our signals to be more effective in moving people, but moving them safe, especially in the vehicle mode. So we're excited about that. We also just completed our departmental access management manual. No, we will be completing it, sorry. And just to give you a little bit of background, it drives me crazy, literally, when I'm driving in the city, and I hit traffic lights, and then another traffic light, and then another traffic light. So an access manual guideline says how close your traffic lights will be, safety, all of that's built into it. And it gives the developers a really good understanding of what and how the traffic signal should work, because having too many traffic signals is part of the problem as well. So we're gonna work on this and get it finalized. We also continue with pushing out our design for and construction on our completing green streets. We actually have the manual, the design manual that is everyone in our department is using. So as we're designing our streets, we're doing it at some of the best practices out there of safety for all modes on the road. And we're super excited and appreciative of Mayor O'Connell's executive order supporting this. We're also going to be implementing the Connect Downtown. There is recommendations that came out, so we're hitting that full force. We're going to continue with our Nashville Beautification Initiative and just continue on delivering. That is really what we're focused on. We also, one thing that we missed on this, Hal, is a utility manual. As we move forward and think about building out transportation, what's under the ground is becoming very competitive. And it's very important that everyone understands what the roles are underneath the ground and how it plays, so that as we move forward and we're building out a transportation network system on even a major pike, that we're also designing and building it for future changes. So if right now we're moving forward and we're going to focus on a transit only lane, but in the future we want to put a rail in, we want to make sure Nashville is set with that. We do not want later on for someone to have to come in and move the utilities. So we've designed a utility manual. We'll be working with the utility industry on that, and that'll kind of set the guidelines of how we're all going to behave under the ground. And there's nothing sexy about it, but it's really important. And it's also, even though state statute says the utility companies are on the hook, it doesn't require them to do it in the time frame in which we would like to see a transportation project done. So by setting these guidelines, we're setting the rules up front with everybody. So it's going to allow us to have timely, effective transportation projects happen. And so with that, I want to say thank you, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you so much for that very detailed and thorough presentation. I'm going to start off with our Chair Parker, and I'm going to make a quick list here. The next person I saw was Councilmember Benedict. Then I saw Councilmember Evans Siegel. Then I saw Councilmember Allen. Oh, I don't know. It looks like one side of the room is paying attention more than the other side. Just kidding, guys. I'm just joking. Councilmember Kimbrough, I got you in the queue. Okay. All right. And now we'll have the infrastructure chair and Councilmember Parker, I mess up the name of your committee all the time, so my apologies, but you are recognized, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Porterfield. It's the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but well, thank you all for the presentation. I just had a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. You're talking about celebrating and communicating. I think that we do have a lot since we've implemented NDOT that we can kind of stop and celebrate and communicate. The alley crews are one thing that you did not mention that have been really game-changing for those of us who have lots of alleys in our districts. I think they've probably gone through our area 2 or 3 times now, which is, it's not a high-frequency thing, but when you have them actually get cleared, we had a neighborhood cleanup scheduled, and we usually have big truck with a big flatbed trailer, and we get the big picker from NDOT, but our beautification commissioner went out, and it was scheduled for maybe 10 days after the alley crews made it through our area, and he said, we don't need the trailer, we don't need the picker this time, we'll just go do litter, with like the little grabbers. And, we weren't able to do that in the past, so those alley crews that we added are very impactful and very appreciated by constituents. Similarly, when we began the abandoned vehicles conversation 18 months ago, there were really 3 departments that were central to that conversation. And, no one ever flatly said this to me, but nobody really wanted to own it. It's not an easy thing to deal with. There's a lot of state law requirements for how we handle the vehicles. It's difficult, but I do want to thank NDOT for, I've seen it out in the field. We're seeing the results of cars that have been present on streets for a very long time are now gone. It's, sometimes it's like a week now instead of like 7 months or a couple years. And so I know there's room for improvement and growth there, but I think we are light years ahead of where we were before y'all kind of took that in and owned that. And we really appreciate you doing that. Similarly, I have to brag on the traffic calming delivery situation. That was, we still feel like there's a little bit of a backlog, but it feels like there's movement now. Mm-hmm. For a while, a lot of us who had pending projects were really getting a lot of feedback that, what the heck's going on? It's been a year, it's been 18 months. And we're starting to see delivery and progress on more and more of those. So thank you for diversifying that. I know that the parking revenues, and this is my actual question for you. I'm done talking. I'm just reiterating things that you already said. So we know that the parking revenues are improving with the ease of access. It's much easier to actually pay now for our parking customers in our public spots. My laptop went down and I wasn't able to look it up, but either in the charter or in code, we set parameters around what that revenue can be used for. And I mean, obviously the first thing is to improve the parking program itself, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that y'all are doing a lot of that, but can you remind us what constraints are on that revenue? And then can you tell us a little bit about how the department is utilizing and deploying that revenue?
Yes, thank you for that. If I can go back to the alley crew real quick, because I really do want to also toot the horn on that. I want to also say thank you because last year in the budget, y'all actually gave us more money to double the crew. And so it's really super to hear that you're seeing it and your community and your constituents are seeing it. And we're seeing it as well. So I'm really glad to hear. And that's, also we run a crew on Saturday for that as well. So we have folks, so some of that salary savings allows us to even run a little bit more. We are having the same supply chain issues. I mean, I think we all kind of felt that this past winter because we only have limited snowplows. We have a bunch of them on order and they were all supposed to be in. A lot of them have come in, but not all of them are in. So we're still having some of those supply chain issues, but thank you for that because I did want to mention that some of that success has been because have been able to run those crews as well on Saturday to really get ahead and stay ahead of it. So on the parking, the way the charter actually reads is the revenue that is collected, or I want to say the net income, so revenue minus expenses. All the revenue goes into a special purpose fund, and the expenses for the parking are charged against that special purpose fund, and we end up with the net income. The net income dollars can be used for additional parking improvement as well as infrastructure improvements. So bike lanes. So Mumbering Hill has been a sore spot for a long time. It's a major bikeway corridor. It needs to be with the protected bike lanes. So we actually were able to take 1.4 million out of the special purpose fund to actually make those improvements over onto Mumbring Hill. So we're doing dedicated bike lanes with protected concrete barriers so that the bicyclists are going to be able to use Mumbring Hill instead of being yelled at or pushed aside and all of that. So that's one of the successes we've had. Also, Jefferson Street, we actually are looking to do a pilot project on Jefferson Street with the protected bike lane. It won't be as hardcore right off the bat, but it's going to allow us to move this project together real quickly. It's going to allow us to look at making that connection up Third, which we pretty much already have done, over the bridge to Dickerson, where we're going to be able to make the connection to Grace. That's going to allow us to go through the community, through your community, and then over the 31st Bridge that goes over Highway 31 and over into East Nashville up to Inglewood. So some of that connection is something we're looking that we're going to be able to get done in the next 12 to 15 months with some of the dollars that we're taking out of the parking funds to actually get it done. So we use it for that type of stuff. We use it for infrastructure, sidewalk improvements, that kind of stuff. And we go back and we use it also for parking. So if there's an opportunity in the future that we need to build a garage, we can revenue bond some of the revenue so that we can actually participate in building a garage. And then the revenue from that will pay the debt off. And then we'll still have dollars that we'll be able to spend on continuing to improve infrastructure. So where I would not be able to get stuff done, I'm able to take the dollars that are out of there to move from these infrastructure projects that need to really get done for the safety of our community, where we're seeing the crashes, where we know people are getting hurt, and go get it done.
Well, thank you. That's super helpful. And I might get yelled at on Twitter for saying this, but based on the experience that people have with some of our private garages around town versus our Metro Courthouse garage and our library garage, I think that the public would welcome more public parking spaces in downtown core. So if we ever have the opportunity to get one of those built in a smart way, I never thought about the fact that we could potentially bond out of those revenues to construct something like that, which would generate additional parking revenue in those public garages. So
Correct.
That's very cool to hear that that's a possibility. So thank you so much and appreciate everything y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Parker. Next, we have Councilwoman Benedict. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Parker. Chair Parker covered a number of my questions, but I have a few for you still. Kudos to you. You guys are doing great work. Now I'm going to dig into some questions, but I'm proud of all the things that you're doing, and we notice it out in the districts. Could you talk about the beautification budget? I think last year we gave each commissioner $5,000. Is that going to continue? Will there be an increase?
It's still at 5,000. So some of the folks have spent it. So the first year it was actually 3,000 that everybody had. We had a lot of folks that did take advantage of it and some folks that did not. So that $3,000 carried over, and then a lot of folks were able to do bigger projects with the 5,000 and 3,000 this year. So we are going to continue with the 5,000. So that is in the budget and that is part of it.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, I meant to say I used NDOT parking for the first time today, and boom, Apple Pay. It was so easy. To give me,
Smart
it
parking.
was so easy for me to give you my money.
Thank you. We appreciate you supporting infrastructure improvement.
Hey, it's not free space. It is metro space. We deserve to earn some revenue on it. Going to the school zone timeline, you said you're starting with those, I think it was 14 schools that you're starting next
15.
month. 15 schools.
Yes, ma'am.
But that you're targeting, you're going to try to get to all elementary schools around the city. What's the timeline for that?
We need to get through this first round with the 15 that we have on Vision Zero, that we got through the Vision Zero surplus dollars. And then we will be actually looking at where we can take some dollars out of Vision Zero and just continue to do more and more and more.
Okay.
I do not have a timeline for you there yet. This is an exercise that we just have started kicking off. We needed to get this design and done, and I was very picky about it. So I will tell you, I changed it very several times with my team to where we got a design to understand what the cost would be to get it done. That plays a lot into it. And then we'll actually look at that funding that we might be able to separate out of Vision Zero to go continue to get it done. But our goal is that we want to actually have it all done, I would say in less than the next 5 years throughout the entire county for elementary, middle, and for high school.
Okay, thank you. And that's kind of just to, not something to hold you to, but something to understand what the horizon looks like. LED light savings, can you speak to that? Have we seen any operational savings yet relative to street lights being LED?
Not yet. You have to remember, it's a 5-year implementation plan. I will tell you, NES is actually ahead of schedule. And so we're really super excited about that. We're actually going to, in talks with NES to come in and speak at the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, just to give a really good idea about what their plan is and how they're doing it. We have prioritized the high injury networks first, but they do have another system and practice in place of how they're doing it. So we want to kind of have them come in and talk about how they get it done, what they're getting done, where they're at, and where they think they will be in getting it done. So it's really kind of hard to measure it now. We're going to have to get a lot more done. I'm going to throw it to NES and have them come in and have that bigger conversation with us. But that is something we're working on with them right now to set a date to get in front of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. But they are ahead, I will tell you that.
I'd love to see at the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee an announcement that says our light bill went down this month. So whatever month that happens, please let us know.
Will
And
do.
let's do it big with a big light, a
Celebration.
big celebration of lights.
Exactly.
Traffic calming, I appreciate the explanation. District 7 has received more traffic calming awards than any other district in the city. We also are a district of neighborhood streets, so it makes sense. We have very little commercial in the district, almost all residential. Thank you for all of the extra attention, and my folks have been great at turning their streets in. I know we've had this backlog. I also am seeing progress on that. What is the expectation that we should set going forward? Like, what's the desirable timeline from construction starting after a ballot close? What are we trying to work towards here?
Yeah, once a ballot closed, I would say, because we are still doing backlog that is being caught
100%.
up.
Yep.
Right now, I would say we're about 6 to 8 months from ballot to construction. Our goal is to get to 3 months.
Okay.
That's what we're working toward. And I'm hoping that next year when I come to you, I'll tell you we're 3.5 months, or we're at 3 months. A lot of it does have to do with contracts, but I think we've finally gotten over that hump where we have multiple vendors that we can now use. That's helping us really get caught up and get things done. But that is our goal, that once we have ballot and we're closed, it also depends on materials that are available. We had a little bit of challenge in the earlier part of last year of being able to get materials in, and that was our stump more than the contractor getting the work done. And then we ended up having a problem with the contractor. So the goal is 3 months, but right now I'm 6 to 8 months. I would say once we close ballots, that's typically what it's taking us.
I'd love to work towards a goal next year, year after next, whatever it is, that ballot closed, let's get them on the ground in a month. Like that would be, I think, the neighborhood's expectation, right? I mean, and that's because we know by the time it's been studied, we've got a 6-month timeline ramping up to it. So I challenge you to say, I know, and 3 months is way
You
better
are
than
always pushing me.
3 months is way better than 18 months. But if we can get to a
Yeah.
shorter timeline, it would be great. I've got two broad, that's all the real specific questions that I have for you. Two broad questions. The mayor mentioned 1.5 million in surplus funds. Can you help explain that to me and what your plan is with those?
I'm not aware of the dollars we might be using for the surplus funding.
You don't,
For this year, I haven't had those conversations as of yet.
okay, so, okay. And then you mentioned just it's kind of a thing we're seeing amongst all the departments. Everybody's having to tighten their belt a little bit. You mentioned that revenues are flat. We actually just had this conversation with the Department of Finance about citywide budget. When we tell the public that our budgets are flat, but then we look and we see it's increased by 2.2 million fiscal year to fiscal year, I just want to understand how that's considered flat?
Well, we are having success with, I would say we're not flat because we've seen an increase in the amount of revenue we're collecting through the Smart Park program, the Smart Parking program, excuse me. So that's part of the increase, but then that dollars are in a special purpose fund. So I cannot use that for my operating budget. I can only use it in the world of parking or for capital projects for infrastructure improvements. So I really flat in that sense, even though we're seeing improvements. As of right now, we are seeing that our permits, which is a revenue generator for us, we are not flat. We are actually, I want to say, well, we are flat, but maybe we'll be a little bit, we're expecting to be a little bit higher but a little bit. So we're staying to the course of where we're at, focusing in on our core services, and then continuing to move up to hit all of that.
Okay, thank you for all of that. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to ask so many questions, even though I'm not on committee. And keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Director Alarcon, it's great to pronounce your name correctly. It's great to hear you say Demumbrian correctly. It's like we've been together 3 years. We almost have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Benedict, and Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
And thank you for Demon Brumman. I saw that little thing tooling down a bike lane the other day, and it's just exciting to see our bike lanes get cleaned up. So
Yep.
as someone who has dodged gravel in the bike lane, I'm really grateful for that. You mentioned the waste pickup on weekends, which I'm really excited about. Does that include waste baskets, which my understanding is that y'all have taken over those little waste baskets in commercial districts? Is that right?
So they're litter baskets.
Litter baskets?
They're not waste baskets.
Okay.
And in the downtown, in some of the downtown area and some other areas where we actually have put the baskets up, yes, ma'am, we are picking them up. And we are actually, so for example, one of the great things that came out of a tour when we were touring with Councilmember Cash was over in Vanderbilt area, they were having a lot of problems with the traffic overflowing, trash overflowing in the Vanderbilt area along 21st and as well as off 12 South.
Right.
So when we toured with him and he was able to share it and we saw it, we now are out there even on Sunday evening picking up trash and making sure it's not a flow over till Monday morning. So we've adjusted our schedule, and that's what some of these really great opportunities of touring with in the districts is giving us chances to really see what's happening so that we can adjust our calendar and our schedule accordingly to meet the demand.
That's fantastic. That's just, like you say, a gateway, when,
Yep.
when our tourists see that and there's
Yes,
trash
ma'am.
overflowing, that's fantastic. And then you mentioned the LiDAR research that you're doing, and I'd just be interested to know, are y'all getting data on right turns on red and whether that's a safer way to do it or a less safe way to do it? This is not really a budget question, but since you brought it up. Or could you gather that data?
We are in the process of looking at several of those alternatives as part of Vision Zero and studying it. Yeah, we have instituted LPI, the leading pedestrian intervals
Yeah.
at several of our intersections across. We're still in the process of deploying more of those, but we have had, we are in the process of analyzing those. It's not, it does work in certain locations. Certain locations, it may not be the best fit.
Okay,
So,
I may talk
but,
more
yeah.
engineering questions about that later on. I'm interested to know that. And then on the parking, excited to hear about $3.2 million in revenue. Ultimately, or maybe initially, the goal of paid parking is to provide turnover. Is there also data on if we're achieving that goal at the same time while we're making lots of money?
Yes, so thank you for that. Yes, actually, we have found that the average length of stay is just over 2 hours. So in the downtown area, we did get a lot of complaints from the businesses. So, our meters have always been a 2-hour time limit. When we actually went to smart parking, that was something we did not touch. We did not touch the rates and we did not touch the time limit. But we did step up the enforcement. We did provide different ways that people could pay because before the machines were broken quite a bit.
Right.
And so you can't enforce if your machines are broken. But now they are paying, we are finding it's just over 2 hours that they are actually staying. We did change a lot of the time limits in the evening to 3.
Right.
Because that way people were saying, well, we were getting and hearing that I'm coming downtown, I'm meeting folks, we're having cocktails, then we're sitting and eating dinner, and it's more than 2 hours. So we did adjust in the downtown core area after 5 o'clock for 3 hours, and that's why we're just over the 2-hour limit.
Okay, that's
And so one of the things that we are also now starting to analyze and look at is the rate structure, and do we need to maybe look at doing that different? That 2.25 is a little bit difficult. So we want to get to more of either, is it, $2 for the first hour and then $4 and then $6 and so on, so that it continues, because we do have some people said, if you'd let me stay there 8 hours, I'll pay you the $40 instead of giving it to your competition. But again, your on-street should be your turns, and then the long-term should be in the garages.
Right, right. That seems like a good
Yep.
rate structure, so I'm glad we're using that to do that. I appreciate all y'all are doing. Traffic calming is a big hit, so it's exciting to see that accelerating forward, so thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Allen. Do we have any additional, Councilmember Evan Siegel. Did I skip you? I did. I'm so sorry. You are recognized. My apologies.
It's just, the more you skip me, the more other people ask my questions. It's a time saver for everybody. So I'm happy to see there's another enforcement person on there. All this really relies on enforcement. Nothing works without enforcement. I actually put in a hub request this morning and got the response back that the giant semi blocking the road across the street from the loading zone had already been moved, but the area was already on patrol and would be re-patrolled again. And I was like, yes, it's working. And it was a pretty quick response too. So yes, it was great. And so I'm happy to see that in there. I'm a little curious, like when I look at Choose How You Move, sidewalks, signals, and safety are all within NDOT. And so I know there's a lot of employees and a lot of funds that y'all asked for, and I'm a little curious, sort of what's the overlap when Choose How You Move passes, every finger and toe crossed. How much of what you didn't get on the wish list would you anticipate could be funded through that? Sort of how might that change how NDOT operates on those issues?
So thank you for that question. I really appreciate that. So what we did do, one of the great things about the opportunity with Choose How You Move was we did take our priority priority sidewalk system and bikeways and put that into Choose How You Move. And and as well as Vision Zero. And it just so happens that the transit lines up very well with the Vision Zero and with the sidewalks. So along the main all access corridors, we have set it up to make sure that we have half-a-mile sidewalks on both sides that connect into the community. And then on the crosstown are the less, not the high capacity, but the other corridors, we would go a quarter mile out on the sidewalk to get to the communities. And it's very interesting because in some areas where the transit is running, we'd actually end up connecting sidewalks all the way through on the street. So this is really going to allow us to advance forward the sidewalk improvements. So it's 86 miles of sidewalks that we would be able to do through Choose How You Move. And and I know they put that, but in perspective, when you look at how much we actually get done, this is going to allow us to really pop and get it done. And if we were staying with the funding that we were actually receiving, it would take us 30 years to get it done. Choose How You Move is going to allow us to get it done in less time than that, like 15 years, but more is going to be done in 15 years, but it's going to allow us to get it done. And so we're really excited, but we were very strategic in making sure that we were able to continue with our priority planning that has been done and move that forward, and also making sure that Vision Zero and the safety element came into play, and it just lines up very well with the transit network. So we're going to be able to really support that transit walkability that isn't there now, and that's another really exciting aspect of Choose How You Move.
Okay, thanks. And I'm just trying to understand, just sort of, and this is just me not understanding enough about the state law. Is the Choose How You Move money just for the capital improvements, and then our operating budget has to pay for the design team who's going to design all these extra, or can it also cover those operating?
Yes, it can. So Choose How You Move, the way the Improve Act actually allows us to make improvements tied to transit. So it can be used for capital investment tied to transit, as well as the actual operation of transit. So that's another great thing. That's why right now, a lot of our crashes that we've seen in our high injury network involving pedestrians happen to be involving someone using transit and not having a safe sidewalk to walk to or walk from, not having the appropriate bus stop there. So it's going to really allow us to just make a huge difference to where we're going to have, I feel, one of the best transit operating systems in the nation.
Thank you. And I just want to echo, the alleys are working great. The beautification commissioners, what they were able to do around the city with their few $1,000s and allocating that has been a really wonderful experience for so many communities. And in some ways, it's almost like a very neighborhood-centric participatory budgeting model, right? Where you have this person and they can go out and spend this pot of money to really help the communities. And that's really great. So thank you for that work there.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Can't do it without the team here.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans Siegel. We have somebody from the right side of the room. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Thank you. We had both commented that, in fact, you did mention the alley cleanups, so this side was paying attention. I want to say thank you for Matt Purvis, that one-stop contact for different problems is a great asset. And the only other question I have, I haven't heard anything from the musicians lately on our emails, so I guess you've got that problem pretty well fixed?
So, yes, sir, we incorporated them in the conversation, a part of Connect Downtown. So we'll continue that conversation with them as we move forward with the implementation. They are allowed to drop and to actually use the loading and loading zone, unload, and then move their vehicle. We have been fortunate and also in partnering with Downtown Partnership with coming up with a really good reduced rate and multiple garages for them. And then they'll park and then they'll come back and they'll actually load up. So we are having some of that success. So we're going to continue working on those elements, especially as we move forward with the implementation of Connect Downtown.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
Great question. Thank you, Councilmember Nash. Do we have any other questions, you all? Council Lady Kimbrough, you're recognized.
This isn't a question, it's just a comment / compliment. I just would like to say, you all have really been on the ball. You all came out to my area, even before you announced, hey, we will come out and look at your area. You guys came out, you provided transportation, along with the mayor's office and water and I don't know who else it was, but anyway, and spent 2 hours with me and my constituents riding around District 1, seeing some of the problem areas, and I really appreciate it. And I know it's been a while now, I really, really, really want to thank you for the way your office, your department responded during that ice storm. It was horrible for some of, my area. And I have the largest area. So they were going to Jolton, they were in Bordeaux, and they just really made me look good. And I really, really, really appreciate the way you all were so responsive in such a timely manner. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I will share that with the team. We actually have a quarterly meeting tomorrow, so I'll give them a kudos out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kimbrough. Last call for any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you all so much. And again, thank you for everything that you all do for our city. I think it may have been Councilmember Allen, somebody already mentioned it. Those traffic calming programs are definitely a hit. We appreciate the expansion of the bike lanes. We appreciate the expansion and the quick turnaround of the sidewalks. So I'll just have to brag on District 29 really quickly, my former district. I still live there. But, we got approved for Edge of Lake for that traffic calming, and then we were able to get the sidewalk over there, and it has just made such a difference in the lives of the community over there. So I'm really glad to lead on that as a district council member and thankful for y'all and what y'all do. So with that, thank y'all so much for being here. We are concluding today's hearing. Colleagues, we have one more hearing, one more day of hearings tomorrow. So please be prepared to be here tomorrow. Don't forget your wish lists are due tomorrow by 6:30 p.m. And on Saturday, the 25th, we do have those 2 listening sessions again, 10 a.m. at Antioch at the Southeast Community Center, 2 p.m. at the Hermitage Library. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a service